Hey guys, it's Zach and welcome back to the shop. I've gotten a lot of questions on a follow-up video on how I hooked up the Auxbeam switch panel as well as the radio. So I want to do a deep dive into the radio and where I end up putting the radio, the speaker, and all that kind of stuff. So let's get into it. So the beauty of it here is it's out of the way of my handle for shifting. It's tucked away and I got it in there really well. I'll show you how I mounted that here in a second. And then I was able to wire up the headset that's on a magnetic portion here. You'll actually see throughout this there's actually a lot of 3D printing, but this is all magnetic. So and it'll swivel in here and move around or what have you. But you could also, like if you really needed to, you can throw that up on the ceiling or something like that. Now I went back and forth on how I wanted to mount this thing, and I ended up going with a 3D printed piece that I designed that it's just a flat bar, and then it has just some legs in here. And those legs I made look, just a little bit more stylish. They don't have to be stylish. It just gives it the support it needs. And then underneath here, I unscrewed these two top screws and made it so that is what holds the beginning of it. So I have a printed version here, one of the first ones, and you'll see here's where those two bolts go through. And then I gave it some slots here for the back of the radio. And then here's those legs. And I got like this, support vane or in the center here to give it some, some additional rigidity. But that's in essence what the shape of this thing looks like. So of course you can bolt it in and slide this back and forth how you see fit. And then on the bottom here, I actually added double-sided tape to lock it in. But to be honest with you, I don't think I even needed it. I ended up not even it's there, but I haven't peeled off the adhesive. It's working just fine. And then on the front, I created a custom bezel that goes around the radio and just gave it some a little bit of a texture to it to give it some style. But it's just a simple bezel and it holds the front of the radio, and it's not going anywhere. Okay, on to the other side, and probably the coolest part, I would say. I end up using ram mount. So if we take this away, that's just a ram mount in here that's actually using the same screw holes that holds the radio with a ram mount extension with another ram mount base here. In this base piece, I custom made an orange 3D printed cover that has a magnet in it. And that magnet hooks to the back of, the radio, this magnet, and boom. So this whole thing is fully flexible because it's a ram mount. You can move it wherever you want, whatever kind of position you like it, and that to me just works absolutely perfect. And it's it's locked in there. It's not going anywhere. And then those that do wiring on these things, that this tunnel here down below is where you run all the wires. And what I chose to do for the Auxbeam system is I put it right behind the seat in here, and I took a lot of time trying to get it all wired nice and pretty. I even created a 3D printed spacer in here that pushes it off and allows me to have wires come in from the side and not directly underneath, which I think makes it look really clean. It's kind of tough to get back here, but you could also see I added a cover for the battery just to keep it nice and clean. Went ahead and pulled the cover off so you can see how that's working back there. Now, one of the interesting things I did was behind where that Auxbeam controller is, the main wires I did run through the back of this straight into that Auxbeam system and zip tied it up, as well as ran grommets through the side where the battery compartment is, just to make it nice, again, nice and clean and you know, semi-professional. Once it gets all dirty, you'll never know the difference. And I guess last but not least, I decided to put the speaker right here dead center, pointing downward between the passenger and the driver. And it's using the mount for the speaker and these little plastic standoffs that are on the stock roof. There's actually some up here in the front and there's some in the back. So for right now, that's just going to be a perfect spot for the speaker. And then the wire runs, you know, that way and down and around. Yeah, so I mean, that's pretty simple and straight to the point. It took me some time to think about how I wanted to wire it and keep it clean, as well as, you know, obviously modeling all of the 3D printing and everything like that. So I'd be curious on what you think. Would you have done something differently? Would you have mounted the radio up high instead of down low? Would you hook it to the Auxbeam or not? You know, what are your thoughts? I'd be curious what you guys are thinking as well, or some way that I can improve this. If you're interested in the 3D printing stuff, let me know. Might actually share these somewhere or put them up on a, you know, Thingiverse or something like that, so you can download, or even on my website. But yeah, that's the gist of it. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.